Hello everyone, today I will be showing you how to make this Sundae bucket hat. Alright, to get started on the Sundae bucket hat, you're going to need at least 4 colors. Green for the stem or the leaf of the cherry, red for the cherry, brown for the fudge, or you could do like a yellow for caramel if you wanted, and then a color for your ice cream. Today I'm gonna use white just so it's like a vanilla ice cream. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, a 5mm crochet hook, a stitch marker, and a needle to weave in your ends. Okay, to get started here, we are first going to make a slip knot, just like that. If you need to see that again, how I make a slip knot is I take the yarn coming from the ball and I take the end of the yarn. I hold both in one hand, so I have my index finger holding the yarn coming from the ball, and then my pointer or my middle finger and my thumb holding the yarn end. And I take my other hand, I grab this loop that's up right here, I twist it, so there is now an X, and I grab the yarn that's coming from the ball and I pull it through that loop I made. So now I have my slip knot here and I can just tighten it on my hook. Just like so. Now that I have made my slip knot, I am just going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there is my 7 chains there. And then starting in the second chain from the hook, just going to be this one right here, we are going to do a slip stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. Okay. And then we are going to do a single crochet. So we're going to insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So we have our slip knot and then our single crochet. And then we are going to do 2 half double crochets. So we're going to yarn over, insert into our next chain, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. That's our first half double crochet. And we need to make 1 more. So we're going to yarn over again, insert into our next chain, yarn over and pull through 1, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, then next we are going to do another single crochet. So we're going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. That's kind of what we're looking like right there. And then to finish this off, we have 1 chain left unworked, so we're going to insert our hook and do a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through again. So this makes the first leaf of our cherry stem. So now we just need to make our other leaf of our cherry stem. So we're pretty much going to repeat that whole section again. So we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then again, starting in the second chain from the hook, so not this one right here. And we're going to start with a slip stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into that second chain, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. And then it's a single crochet, so we're going to insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And then it's 2 half double crochets, so we're going to yarn over on our hook, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. Do that one more time. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then the last 2 chains is going to be a single crochet, so we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2. And then we're going to insert into the last chain, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. So there are our leaves for the cherry. So now we need to make the stem portion for our leaves. So still where we ended, we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is what we are looking like. And then we're just going to work back down this chain that we've just made. Starting in the second chain from the hook, we're just going to do 5 single crochets down. So I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, insert, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 2 single crochets. And I'm just going to do that the rest of the way down. So there's 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So now we have our leaves, right? And then we have our stem, but it's not really connected properly. We're going to insert into this hole right here of our second leaf and do a slip stitch. So insert, yarn over, pull through, and pull through again. Okay. So now if I take my hook out and kind of pull up a loop, we can see this is kind of what we are looking like. So now this stem part that we made with the 5 single crochets, we're going to slip stitch back down just to give the stem some sturdiness. So I'm going to insert my hook back in, and then I'm going to turn, and I'm not going to do a chain 1 to turn. I'm just going to go directly into that last single crochet I did on the stem and insert, yarn over and pull through, and then pull through again for that single crochet. And I'm just going to do that all the way down. So I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull through again, insert, yarn over, pull through again, and do that for all 5 stitches. So now when I hold it up, you can see it's more sturdy and can hold the weight of the leaves. So now we can cut off our yarn for our cherry stem, because this is done and ready, and we can put this off to the side. So now, before I move on to making the actual cherry, I have this end from where I started making the stem that I'm going to go ahead and weave in. And you can kind of see here, I still have this kind of gap here. So I'm just going to weave this in such a way that kind of cinches that gap closed. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm gonna put it through, and then I'm just going to start weaving it in. There's no real stitch to weave into, or there's no real precise stitch to use, so I just kind of go around the circle here and weave it in. And you can see now, since I've made one circle, it's closed. So then I'm just going to continue to weave this in, and I'll weave it in and go back through the stem in the single crochets. Just to make sure that the stem stays pretty sturdy. There. So here is what our cherry stem is looking like. I'm going to leave this on here, and I'll weave that in later when I actually make the cherry itself. But if I hold up the stem, you can see it's pretty sturdy. Okay, now we are going to start making the actual cherry portion of this. And to do that, we're going to start with a magic circle. And how I make my magic circles is I take the end of the yarn and I wrap it around my pinky, like so. And then I wrap under, so it's over my index finger. And it looks like that. And then I continue making a loop and wrapping it around my index finger, so it forms an X here on my index finger. Here's what the back looks like. And then there's the X. So then I take my thumb and I put it onto the X and I hold it. Then I take my other hand and I grab the top loop of the X that I'm holding. So then it is off my finger. And this one wants to twist in on itself, but that is okay. Then I transition the X to where it's being held by my thumb and middle finger, and here's my index, providing some tension. Then I take my hook and insert it into that loop, and from there I'll take the yarn that is right here between my thumb and my index finger, and I'll yarn over so it looks like that, and then I'll pull through the loop that I've made, and then I'll yarn over and pull through, and then that is my magic circle done. And I can let go with my thumb and middle finger, and from there I can start crocheting now. And if you have a different method of making a magic circle, go ahead and do that method. This is just the method that works for me. So I still have my magic circle here and I haven't closed it. And we need to put 6 single crochets into our magic circle. So I'm going to hold it open with my left hand and I'm going to insert into the magic circle. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. And that is going to be my first single crochet of this round. So at this point you can grab your stitch marker and insert it into that first single crochet. So I need to do 5 more single crochets into my magic circle for a total of 6. So I'm just going to do that. Insert into the magic circle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our third single crochet. Insert, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our 5th one, and our last one. Insert, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so there are our 6 single crochets to start the round. And at this point we can actually close the magic circle. So I'm going to take this tail end and just pull it. And you can see that our magic circle is now closed. So for round 2 of this, we're going to do increases all the way around so that we will end up with 12 single crochets. So you don't need to do a slip stitch to complete the round. We're just going to work in a spiral and start the next round with a single crochet in the stitch that we have marked here. So I'm going to insert my hook into that first single crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And that will actually close or complete our round for us for that first round. So now I'm going to take my stitch marker out and move it to the stitch we just made. Now I'm going to, because we're doing an increase, I'm going to insert into that same stitch and put another single crochet. So I'll just insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to do that all the way around. So we'll have a total of 12 single crochets. So insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Alright, so here is what that is looking like now. If you count from your stitch marker, you should have 12. So that is the end of round 2. We are going to do another increase round. So we're going to do exactly what we did on this last round, except this time we're going to end up with 24 stitches instead of 12. So we're doubling the previous round again. So again, just insert into the hook with your stitch marker, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then make sure to remember to move your stitch marker to that first stitch. I can't hold on to my stitch marker. So now we're just going to insert into that stitch again, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then that'll be our first increase of the round. So go ahead and do that all the way around and you should end up with 24 single crochets. Here is what we are looking like after round 3. So for round 4, we are not doing an increase round. We are just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. So just going to insert into my first marked stitch, and I'll move my stitch marker and then it's just single crochets all the way around, no increases. All right, here's what we are looking like after round 4. So this next round, we are actually going to be doing some decreases. So to do the decrease round, we are actually going to take out our stitch marker just for a moment and set it off to the side. And we are going to insert our hook into that stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull through like we're going to do a single crochet. And before yarning over and pulling through those 2, we're actually just going to go ahead and insert into the next stitch to do another single crochet. And we'll yarn over again and pull through. So then we will have 3 loops on our hook here. Now we're just going to yarn over and pull through all 3, and that is our first decrease. So before going any further, we're going to grab our stitch marker and insert it into that stitch to mark the beginning of this round. So I'll show that again. So now we're going to do another decrease, and we're going to insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch again, yarn over, pull through. You should have 3 loops on your hook, and we'll yarn over and pull through all 3. And there you have done your second decrease. So just continue that all the way around, and you should end with 12 stitches. Okay, now that we have done the decrease round, we just want to do a round of single crochets. So we're going to insert into our marked stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to move our stitch marker into that stitch to mark our round. And then we're just going to single crochet in each stitch around. And you should end up with 12 single crochets. All right, here is what we are looking like. So now we need to do our final round, and our final round is going to be another decrease round. So again, we're going to insert into that marked stitch, yarn over, pull through. We are not going to complete this stitch. We instead are going to insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And before continuing, we're going to put our stitch marker into that stitch to mark the round. So again, insert into your next stitch, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through 3. And that is how we are going to decrease around. So do that all the way until you get to that last stitch marker. You should end with 6 stitches. And once you do that last one, you are okay to cut off your yarn. So I left me quite a big tail there. We are not going to close the circle here because we're going to use this to work onto our hat so that the hat is pretty much no-sew. So I'm just going to pull this out, have that there, and I'm going to take out my stitch marker, and there we are. I am not going to be stuffing this, but if you would prefer that, you are welcome to. But we are done with our red yarn, and we can set this to the side now. All right, before we actually start the making of the bucket hat, we're going to sew our cherry stem onto our cherry. So I'm just going to take this longer tail and thread it through our needle. And then I'm going to take the cherry and I'm going to insert into our magic circle here and pull that through. And then this yarn tail from earlier that I said I wasn't going to cut off, I'm going to also thread that. And I'm going to put it through. I'm going to do the next round, so in between round 1 and 2 of the cherry. I'm going to insert it and poke it through the center there. And pull that through. So now we have both our yarn tails from our cherry stem pulled through. And from there, I'm just going to tie them in a knot and tighten it. Don't pull too tight, because you could pull that yarn in that you wove through the cherry stem. You could pull that and it would cinch up the cherry stem. So tie it in a knot, but relatively loose. And I'm going to double knot it just for safety. And I'll just do one more. Okay. And now that that is tied, I'm going to take this red from starting the cherry, and I'm also going to tie that. And then I can cut these off. And there is our cherry stem. With our cherry. Alright, so now we're going to need our cherry in just a moment, so I am going to just set it off to the side here, and then I'm going to grab my brown for my fudge color, and I'm going to take the end of it and I'm going to make another slip knot and tighten that on my hook. And then from here I am going to grab my cherry, and this may be a little tricky, but I'm going to have my yarn, my brown yarn in position ready to start crocheting with it, and then I'm going to be holding the slip knot onto my hook so that it doesn't go around anywhere, and I'm going to grab my cherry, so it doesn't matter what stitch you start in. So we're going to be inserting into the front loop only. So if you look at the top of it, it's got the 2 loops here to create a V. So there's the back loop, if you can see that. That is the back loop, and then this one right here is the front loop. We're going to be inserting into that front loop. I'm going to yarn over and then pull through, and that'll be a slip knot or a slip stitch. And then from here I'm going to chain 3. And this chain 3 is going to count as our first double crochet of the round. For this round, we're going to be doing 2 double crochet in each stitch. So we should end up with 12 double crochets, and counting the chain 3 as a double crochet. So now I'm just going to yarn over, insert into that front loop only, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And at this point, if you need to, go ahead and grab your stitch marker and put it in the top chain from that chain 3. And then we are going to yarn over and insert into our next stitch in the front loop only, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then do that again. And so we should have 2 double crochet in that next stitch. So go ahead and repeat that around. You should end up with 12 double crochets in the front loop only. When you get to where you fastened off for your cherry, I'm just holding it in front so that I can crochet over it. So I'm still inserting into the front loop only, but I have this yarn tail pulled to the front so I can crochet over it. Unlike when we were working on the cherry, we are going to slip stitch to complete the round. So once you get back to your stitch marker in that chain 3, go ahead and insert your hook. It may be a little difficult to do, but yarn over, pull through, and pull through again to finish that round. And so here is what we should look like. And you should have 12 double crochets, with the chain 3 counting as 1 double crochet. Okay, for our next round, we are going to increase around, and to do that, we're going to start with a chain 3. This is going to count as our first double crochet. Then we're going to yarn over and insert into that same stitch that the chain 3 is sitting on. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to move my stitch marker to the top of that chain 3. And then we're just going to continue and do 2 double crochets in each stitch around. Okay, there is our next round. So now from here we are going to do an increase and then a regular double crochet and then an increase and then a regular double crochet. So to start the next round, we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, and then we are going to do a chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet. Then we're going to yarn over and insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that'll be our first increase. And then for the next stitch is just 1 double crochet. And then the stitch after that is going to be another increase. So we'll do a double crochet, followed by another double crochet in that same stitch. So go ahead and repeat that around until you get back to the start of the round. Okay, after you finish round 3, this is what we are looking like. You should have 36 double crochets. That is including the chain 3 that we did at the start. So we just need to fully finish round 3 And to do that, we are going to do what we have been doing and slip stitching into that top of that chain 3. Okay, so for round 4, we are actually going to start using our ice cream color here, but like all the other rounds, we are going to start with a chain 3. The pattern repeat is going to be an increase and then 2 double crochet and then another increase. So that's the actual pattern repeat, but partway through we will add our ice cream yarn and essentially start creating the droplets of fudge down the ice cream. So we did our chain 3, we're going to go into that same stitch and double crochet. Actually, on the last yarn over of this round is when we will pick up our ice cream color and start doing the droplets for the fudge. So the repeat for this round is an increase and then 2 double crochet, 1, 2, and then we're going to do another increase. So that's 2 double crochet in the same stitch, and then another 2 double crochet by themselves, like so. And go ahead and just repeat that all around and I'll meet you at the end of the round. Okay, I am at the point in round 4 where I'm ready to do my last double crochet of the round. And so we will go ahead and start that double crochet. So we'll yarn over, insert, yarn over and pull through. We'll yarn over and pull through 2. And then now right here, what we want to do is go ahead and drop our brown, our fudge color. And then we are going to pick up our ice cream color and place it over our hook as if to yarn over. And I'm holding it on the back here just to have some tension. And then I'm going to yarn over those last 2 to complete the double crochet. So that is what we will look like. At the end of this round, you should have a total of 48 stitches. So now to start the next round, we are going to do a slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And if you make your chain 3 a little tight, like I have, it's a little difficult to get in there. Now I'm just going to kind of tighten everything up here. And before I pull through for my slip stitch, I am going to place my brown on top of my hook, just to pull it up to this next round because we will be using it, and that way it won't kind of create a float on the back. So then I'm just going to yarn over and pull through and then pull through again to do the slip stitch. And then after that you can kind of tighten everything to make sure everything's nice and secure. And then we will go ahead and drop that brown for a moment. So now here is where you can kind of take some creative freedom, as long as you make sure to do an increase and then 3 double crochet and then an increase and 3 double crochet. So it's really up to you, but we are going to start with our chain 3. This counts as our first double crochet of the round. And then we're going to yarn over, insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is our increase. And when you start going into these next stitches with your double crochets, make sure you carry your brown yarn throughout. So I'm just going to do the pattern repeat, which we've done our increase, and so now we need to do 3 double crochet. So there's 1 double crochet while carrying the brown yarn. I'm going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, do another double crochet. So that's 2. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, and double crochet. So that's 3. So that is our repeat for the round. And I don't want to switch over to my brown yet, so I'm just going to insert into the next stitch and do an increase. Just like that. And I will do 1 double crochet, and we'll do another double crochet. And then, like we did on the previous round when we were switching to our ice cream color, we're going to start a double crochet but not fully complete it. So I will drop the white. I'm going to drop it kind of in the front here because we're going to carry it anyway. And then I'm going to pull on my brown just to make sure there's no like excess on the back here. And I yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops. And then I'm just going to pull my white yarn to kind of cinch everything together. So I've now changed back to my fudge color, and in the repeat I did my increase and then 2 double crochet. So to finish the repeat I need to do 1 more double crochet, like so. And now I need to start over and do another increase. So there's 1 and another double crochet into the same stitch. And now from here on, once you get that pattern repeat down, it's up to you on when you want to change over to your ice cream color or keep your fudge color. So I am just going to continue around and I will meet you back at the start. Okay, here I am at the end of round 5. This is what it's looking like. You can kind of see where I did these sections of the fudge and then the ice cream. And here is my last stitch. So since I started with the white, I wanted to make sure that I ended with my fudge here, and I'm going to yarn over and change back to my white. So I went ahead and did that last double crochet, and I have my last 2 loops that I need to pull through. So I'm just going to yarn over with my white and pull through those last 2 to finish that double crochet. And then now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And before I actually finish that slip stitch, I'm pulling my brown up and over so that I can get it on the same level as this round and avoid any floats. So yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. So round 6 is very similar to the previous round in that the pattern repeat is going to be an increase and then 4 double crochet. What you need to keep in mind for this round is where you need to start tapering off the fudge for this round. So I'll show you what I mean when I get to this first fudge section. So to start this round, we're just going to chain 3, and then we are going to yarn over and insert into that same stitch that the chain sits on. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is our first increase for this round. And so now we need to do 4 double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, insert, and do a double crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we need to do another increase into that next stitch, like so. Okay, we are at our first fudge section, and we need to essentially decrease the brown without actually doing any decrease stitches. So in order to do that, I'm just going to place a white on this first brown stitch here. So I did my increase and then I did 3 double crochet. I need to do 1 more for that repeat, so I'll do that. And then before I complete this last stitch, I'm going to drop my white, pick up my brown, yarn over, pull through those last 2. And then I'm just going to continue as normal. So for the repeat, we are now increasing. So I'll do an increase, like so. Again, still carrying the white. And then I have 4 brown stitches to work into for the repeat, but before the 4th one, we are actually going to change back to our white. So we're going to instead do 3 double crochets in our brown color. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm just going to drop the brown there, pick up the white, and complete that 3rd double crochet. Then I'm going to yarn over with the white and do the last double crochet of that repeat. So that is kind of how you need to work these fudge sections. And essentially we want to get the sections down so there's only like 2 or 3 brown stitches left in the section. So it kind of has this tapered dripping or melting effect for the fudge. So I'm going to go ahead and continue in this way, doing the increase followed by 4 double crochet repeat, keep being mindful of my fudge sections and making sure I at least remove 1 fudge stitch on the ends of the fudge section. Here is what I'm looking like at the end of round 6. You can kind of see how this is starting to taper a little bit. So for round 7, we are no longer going to be doing any increases. We're just going to be crocheting around, and each round, including this one that you just finished, should have 72 double crochets, including the chain 3 at the start. And this next round, I think doing the decrease at the start of each fudge section will be my last color decrease, not stitch decrease, just the color decrease. And then from there on, I will cut off my brown and just continue with the white. So I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Here is what we are looking like after round 7. Each fudge section only has 3 stitches of brown, or 2 like in this case. We did not do any actual stitch decreases. We just changed how many stitches we used in our fudge color. And I did go ahead and cut off my fudge color here. And now going forward For the next 6 rounds, all the way to round 12, we're just going to double crochet all the way around in our ice cream color. And once you finish those 6 rounds, I will meet you back here. All right, here is what we are looking like now that we've finished our 12 rows, and counting just from when we started at the top here with our fudge color all the way down. This is our 12 rows. Now we need to start doing the flare out to actually make this become like a little sun bucket hat. And to do that, where we did our slip stitch, we're going to do like we've been doing for the other rounds, and we're just going to chain 3 to start this as our double crochet. And then in that same chain and in the front loop only, we are going to do another double crochet. So it looks like that. And then in each double crochet across the previous round and in the front loop only, we are going to do 2 double crochets. So in the next stitch in the front loop, we're going to do a double crochet and then another double crochet, just like that. So we're going to do that all the way around. Front loop only, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet. So go ahead and do that all the way around, and I'll meet you back here. All right, here is what we are looking like after the first round with the double crochet in every stitch and in the front loop only. We've got a little wave going. So now for this next row, we're essentially going to repeat the previous row, but the only thing we're changing is we're not going to do it in the front loop only. We're just going to do 2 double crochet regular in each stitch around. So like always, chain 3 to start your round, and then we're going to double crochet in that stitch that the chain 3 sits on. And then we're just going to do 2 double crochet in each stitch across. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back at the end of the round. Here is what we are looking like after that second increase round, quite ruffly. If you want less ruffles, you can definitely not do the increase round and just do double crochets in each stitch, or you can do a double crochet, a regular double crochet, and then a double crochet, so increase every other stitch. But I like this ruffle. So now for our last round, we are just going to double crochet in each stitch across, and then we'll fasten off and weave in our ends. Okay, we have finished our last round, and instead of slip stitching into the top of this chain 3, we are just going to pull our loop out. And as you can see, I've already cut and left myself a couple inches to weave in. So I'm just going to pull that loop out. I'm going to take my yarn needle and I'm going to thread it through. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert into that top of that chain 3, and then I'm going to go down through the top of the double crochet that we just finished so that this will create a loop. And then when I pull that closed, you can kind of see there that this loop is continued. And so now from here, I will just continue to weave this in like normal. All right, and after you have woven in that last end, here is what the bucket hat looks like. It's got a lot of waves in it because we did the increases, but since this is kind of like an ice cream hat, like an ice cream scoop, I think the ruffles work very well with it. So that is your finished Sundae bucket hat. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Also, if you end up making this hat, I do have my socials listed down below, and I would love to see y'all's creation. Thank you, and I'll see y'all in the next one.